Thanks for everybody's tremendous work, and I'm so excited personally for the community leadership team. I've been thinking a lot about leadership and have been thinking that maybe leadership is not so absolutely critical when the status quo is acceptable, and that probably holds for any number of issue areas. If things are going reasonably well, then you kind of are in maintenance mode. But we find ourselves in an era that really cries out for change, and therefore the need for truly extraordinary leadership. Leadership that is courageous and forward-looking. Leadership that puts purpose above ego. We're here in South King County, and it's no accident that we're having this meeting right here, right now. We're really ground zero, I think, for a reality that every day is making the case for why we need a different approach to investing in children's education. Homelessness among children in our region is on the rise. It's dramatic. And this is at a time of tremendous prosperity. When you look back in 2010, when the Roadmap Project began, we were in the depths of the Great Recession. And homeless children, we had about 1,000 homeless children, way too many. But today, in the middle of the greatest prosperity our region has ever seen, we're nearing 5,000 homeless children. Something is dramatically wrong with the picture. We see concentrations of poverty that demand a K-12 investment strategy that confronts poverty, helps children in poverty, doesn't exacerbate the problem. We see growing evidence every day of the power of early learning, but we still have a lot of legislators who are saying on a regular basis, we can't afford to expand ECAP so we can serve our most vulnerable children. We can't afford it, we'll have to wait. We see a knowledge economy that is absolutely exploding. The demand for people with ever greater education levels is skyrocketing. Yet some in the legislature on a regular basis are saying, sorry, we can't afford to fund the state need grant, so those 24,000 eligible low-income people who want to go to college to get the skills so they can get into that robust economy have a chance. It makes just no sense to block opportunity. We have a big challenge, and as I reflect on it, leadership is the only way out of this situation. Leadership at all levels. Thankfully, we have our governor with us today. It's very powerful. He is a leader, and it's been demonstrated on so many issue areas over so long a time of his public service. He is a leader who shares our core beliefs in the transformative power of education. He sees and understands the value of early learning for children. He sees and understands the value of higher education as perhaps the only route out of a life of poverty. And certainly, he sees the need for change. In the very beginning of the Roadmap Project, we used a metaphor quite frequently of a great track relay team. So think about that in your mind. If you've ever watched a great track relay, it's one of the most exciting things you'll ever see in sports. The work we do as leaders, from early learning to K-12 to higher ed, inside school, outside school, it's like a great relay team. It requires teamwork across the entire continuum. Each person on the relay team has to run their leg as fast as they can, as most powerfully as they can. But there's another thing in relay, and that's the handoff. And And they practice that like crazy. The transitions are so important. So today, again, we're going to use the relay metaphor as I introduce the governor. We all, every person in this room is a leader in education. We are all on the big relay team for kids, but there is only one governor. In relay, if you know anything about it, you put your most powerful person as the anchor, the one to run the last leg of the relay. That's who's going to bring it home. We have 2 weeks to go before June 30th, a mountain to climb for education, and we in the Roadmap Project want to give our signature relay baton to the governor. We are behind you, Governor. We are part of your team, and we will do anything to support your leadership to get great results for kids. So welcome, Governor Inslee. We're so thrilled to have you with us.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. The baton has been passed to the slowest member of the 1964 Cascade Junior High School track team, so I'll give it all I've got. Thank you, Mary Jean. Thank you for your leadership. I just want to say this and get it off my chest. We cannot afford not to expand early child education in the state of Washington. We cannot afford to do the things that we know that work throughout a child's education to close the opportunity gap, to realize the intellectual power that we have, to continue this incredible engine of intellectual property creation in the state of Washington. We cannot afford to have brilliant minds who could be doing aeronautical engineering or could be in the healthcare trades to not be available to fulfill their promise. These are things that we can't afford not to do, to turn the comments on the head that you hear. And the reason is that we know these investments work. And you said something, you were talking about the roadmap, and I just flashed on a roadmap. You know, one of the problems with our kids is they don't know what a map is anymore, which way north is, because everybody has GPS, right? So you have the Google Earth. You don't need Google Earth to have a roadmap to children's success in the state of Washington. The good news, we know what works in the state of Washington. We see it working in the state of Washington. None of this is hypothetical. None of it needs an additional layer of research. We see the things that are working, they're changing our lives big time. And that's why I'm excited about the effort of your leadership to give these children this opportunity, because I get to see their eyes light up at Nautilus Elementary School in Federal Way, where these kids, most of whom live in poverty, are learning to do robotics in 4th grade. At Quincy, where I saw first graders learning how to do chemical combinations, starting by learning how to make Play-Doh. They're learning basic scientific principles in Quincy in 1st grade. At Kitsap County at Blakely Elementary School, where I saw first graders building electric circuits with conductive and insulated Play-Doh to light up a little light bulb. When that little light bulb lights up, so does the creative juices of a first grader. We see what is capable, and when we have made these investments, we know that they can have really great results. Look, and we are making progress. I think it's important in this kind of conversation to realize we are making progress, and that should give us hope why these investments are necessary. We are increasing graduation rates. That's a good thing. We are improving the performance of the number of minority and poverty children who are reading at a 4th grade level in 4th grade. We've reduced the opportunity gap for Native Americans in a number of areas in the last couple of years by 8%. We now have fully funded all-day kindergarten. We are making progress when we do the things that we know that work. So the good news is we know what works, we just got to find a way to finance it. So I want you to know that we have a budget that will finance, to some degree, almost every single thing that this group has proposed, and that is the governor's budget now pending in the state legislature. This budget will increase by thousands access to early childhood education. It will improve mentoring for teachers, because we know that when we get teachers in the best program in mentoring, the rate of return almost doubles to come back in the profession next year, so we don't hemorrhage these great, bright-eyed young teachers. It will reduce class size. It will increase compensation, particularly for new teachers, to keep them in the profession. It will increase the available counselors and psychologists and graduation coaches that we know that work. And by the way, we do know this work. I just think about the Pasco Bulldogs. When they got graduation coaches, they increased their graduation rate of almost all Latino students by 18% in several years. We know that kind of thing works. It would increase the needs grant by 14,000 students. So we can point to 14,000 kids who now have a future in college. All of those things are possible. All of those things have been financed in my budget, and I commend all of those things to the state legislature. Now, as you know, there are those who have more cramped ambitions, more limited vision, less appetite for great learning experiences. Those are the other budgets. They are significantly different. Just to put this in context, my budget would create an additional $8.6 billion in new funding, all of which would go to the things that we know work, that we just talked about. Every single dollar is going to go to the things that we know will reduce the opportunity gap. The Senate budget has proposed only $694 million. Now that's a significant difference. It means less early child education. It means less mentoring for teachers. It means less technology and STEM education. It means less need grant for our students, and that's just not enough. So I am trying to inspire legislators to step up to the plate, to not only solve the needs of the Supreme Court justices, but more importantly, respond to the needs of our children. Because that's actually why we are here, is to increase education. Yes, it is a constitutional obligation, but I take it as a moral imperative and an economic opportunity and a familial responsibility. Those are the things that should drive us to a successful budget this year. So I am trying to inspire legislators of both parties to step up to the plate and get those things done. Now, we know there are some things outside of the classroom that are important to our success as well. One of them is healthcare. I just was reading this morning's newspaper and saw that we are one of the leading states in reducing uninsurance. We're over 90% now, I believe, in our kids, because we've had this expansion of Medicaid, so their parents become covered. These children now become covered. They get their immunization. They get their well baby checks. They do better. They do health. They do the healthy living we know is important. They learn a little bit about nutrition. And as a consequence, they're ready for school and they do better. Unfortunately, there is a movement in Washington, D.C. to cut off their health care. Now, I cannot understand that. I cannot understand why you get up in the morning figuring out how you can take away a kid's health care. I think it's wrong. I think it's immoral. I think it's shameful. And I'm going to do everything I can to stop the people in the U.S. Congress who want to take away health care from our families. Now, there's some other things that we are proposing that are a little new, but I think have great promise. One is to end a little mistake that I kind of think we've made, all of us to some degree, in the last few years. We've made a mistake creating an impression in many of our children that if you don't go to a four-year college, you're a failure. That if you want to be a healthcare professional and the radiological technologist, if you want to be a welder, if you want to operate a laser-guided machine as a machinist, somehow you're not a success if you do those great professions. That needs to change. So I am very hopeful that we are going to create a career and technical education pipeline for our children so that if they have those ambitions, they can get that training in high school and they can get an apprenticeship in high school. In Switzerland, 60% of the students have a certified skill when they graduate from high school. And as a result, they have an unemployment rate no higher for their 19-year-olds than they do for their 40-year-olds. I think we ought to start the day, and I was so proud in Tacoma a few weeks ago to have pinned the Washington pin on the first 12 apprentices in our high school program in state history. We want to build that so that every single child has a vision that they decide, and if it involves a technical skill, by gum, we give them that opportunity in high school. And I think we can start that this year. So it's something that I really want to get done. So this is a very important time. I appreciate you being here together. I know you have a lot of responsibilities. I know that you're busy. But whatever your responsibilities are, I hope that you will spend some time talking to your legislators in the next 48 to 72 hours. Because they are a long ways apart. And unfortunately, one side of the team hasn't really stepped up to the plate to figure out how to finance these things. Look, these things, you know, this money does not grow on trees. It has to come from somewhere. Both parties have recognized that they will have to increase revenues. So both the Republicans and Democrats have proposed in different ways revenue packages to increase revenues. The Republican plan is to just increase taxes of people in kind of King County and give tax cuts to a bunch of other people in their favored districts. I don't think that's the fairest way to do this. All of our children deserve an education, and all of us have some responsibility for the future of our state. So we're going to have to find a better way to do that, and I'm looking forward to working with legislators to forge a bipartisan consensus. But they need to get serious about doing this, and they need to get serious right now, because if we don't have a budget by July 1st, the government could shut down. And it is time to solve the McCleary decision. They cannot and should not be allowed to kick this can down the road any further. So I hope you are raising your voices respectfully, diligently, and constantly in the next few days. Because if you let people know what a thrill it is to see a young child's eyes light up when they understand an electric circuit at age 6, maybe they'll be inspired to do their jobs, because I'm going to insist that they do. Thanks a lot. Keep running.